Thank you very much for joining us on this very bright and beautiful day here in Nigeria as we celebrate a very, very, very powerful victory yesterday over South Africa at the AFCON, and of course making it to the finals. Congratulations to the Super Eagles, and that's the energy we're kicking off Breakfast Central with this morning. We would like to, of course, welcome you, and of course let you know for the next 2 hours we're going to be having some of the biggest discussions here in Nigeria. I am Osaogi Ogbonwa.
And I'm Joe Hansen, and we're saying Ekaro, Ekabo, name it, whichever language you want to use. Excitement is still in the air. Nigerians are still celebrating up until this morning. Nigeria, South Africa is trending. South Africa is trending on its own.
Yes, it is.
You know, and the banter, my goodness.
It's been one of the funniest nights in Nigeria. I like the fact that, you know, football does this to us, you know.
Yeah.
So no matter what Nigerians are dealing with at any time, sports is one thing that can give us at least a couple of hours of joy.
True.
And I hope everyone understands that's really just banter. It's nothing more. Because it was building up for the last couple of days. There was, you know, a lot of, and we were scared, you know, because we had made so much mouth on social media that if we had lost this game,
you know, at some point, the pressure, the blood pressure that came with that game,
yeah, it was a lot,
was something else. Most importantly, one thing I took note of is the fact that nobody said, where is this guy from? What state is he from?
Yeah, exactly.
Is he from Port Harcourt, that's River State? Is he from the east and north? No, we were called Nigerians. You know,
it's the thing with football. Football unites us all. But hey, Dashin is also joining us this morning with Breakfast Headlines. Sorry, we forgot you for a second.
Yeah, we forgot you.
I know you guys couldn't wait to have me. Good morning.
I mean, we're sorry about that. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
How do they say it in social? Sorry, you don't catch me. Sorry.
I actually understand. There's so much, you know, excitement in the air, and I'm sure a lot of Nigerians wish to remain in this positive euphoria. You know, like Osaogi said, football is actually one thing that unites Nigerians. You know, it doesn't matter where you're from, north, south, east, west. The main thing is when it's time for Nigeria to play, we all come together. Like yesterday, there were so many roars in the air. Like, you know, like you could actually hear the quiet and then hear the, you know, excitement from winning, literally. So it was quite an exciting night, and the extra time was actually extraordinary. Like, you know, it's actually fun. I remember on social media before the football match, one South African actually came online to say that this match is going to actually determine, you know, who the giant of Africa really is. And guess who it is? It's Nigeria, you know.
But I mean, what is sports without banter?
Exactly.
You know, and what is sports without rivalry? A couple of years ago, I mean, they've changed over time. The times when it was Ghana, there was a time when it was Cameroon. You know, this year apparently, you know, it's been South Africa, and I hope that we, of course, go on to eventually win it this year, and of course add one more AFCON title to our record.
It's going to be a tough one. Woo.
Yeah, it will be tough, you know, but it's not been easy. It's not been easy for anybody, but I'm sure.
But Joe, you know, Osaogi, do you wish that this was actually the final?
No. We of course would have to play every single game until we get there. So I'm sure that the game against Cote d'Ivoire, we may not have the same level of banter because we'll be fine. I'm sure we'll be fine. Or whoever else that makes it to the final.
But the funny thing for me was, it was Nigeria versus South Africa, but the netizens and Nigerians as a whole decided to just add Ghana.
Oh yeah,
Cameroon,
Angola, everybody gets
conversation.
It.
Like
everybody
was
gets
spared.
it. Yeah, everybody.
You know what? Everybody come.
Everybody.
Yesterday, I actually had the opportunity to speak to Bongani, you know, in South Africa, and she interviewed some Nigerians living in South Africa. And, you know, I actually felt betrayed because most of them said they want South Africa to win. So I can't imagine the look on their faces.
I mean, living in South Africa, you might feel that way for a second.
Yeah.
Dashi,
So
what would you say?
unpatriotic.
What would you have said?
But I just want to say, before we go, we need to share what our top stories are, but I wanted to say that we don't make the rules, all right? There's FIFA guidelines that everybody needs to adhere to. And that song, the MNIKE song, we need to rename it. It has to change to MNIKE or Morenike. It's in the FIFA guidelines. We don't make the rules. And so everybody just needs to, of course, fall in line. The song has to change. We now own Amapiano also. These are FIFA guidelines that we need to work with, and because we're a great football nation, we have to stick with the guidelines. Check the FIFA rules.
It's not called our
piano.
Exactly.
Our piano.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Headlines on News Central TV. I'm Darshan Usman. Now we begin in Nigeria's North Central, where residents of Suleja in Niger State took to the streets to register their displeasure over the high cost of living in the country. Wednesday's protest is coming after a similar protest in Minna, the state capital, just 2 days ago. Suleja, the commercial nerve center of Niger State, is only a few kilometers away from the federal capital territory, Abuja. Nigeria's Senate postponed the dialogue with heads of the nation's security agencies following the absence of several key representatives of the government. Some of the service chiefs had appeared before the Senate during plenary to discuss on the state of the insecurity in the country and recommend solutions to tackling them. However, the president of the Senate mandated the clerk of the Senate to invite intelligence chiefs and other key officials so that the dialogue will be holistic and the engagement for far-reaching. Now, the plenary was postponed to Tuesday, the 13th. Nigeria's Senate has postponed its interactive session with the governor of the nation's apex bank, Olayemi Cardoso, to Friday, the 9th. This was made known by the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, as the governor could not attend the planned interface due to being held at the House of Representatives. A chairman of the committee also cited the expected appearance of service chiefs at the Senate as an added reason for the postponement. In Nigeria's southwest, Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has received an official report of the January 16, 2024 explosion at Adeyi Avenue, Old Bodija in Ibadan, the state capital. The report said 3 persons of interest have been identified in connection with the cause of the unfortunate incident, adding that they will face the full wrath of the law based on the investigation carried out. Now the news continues in West Africa, where Mali has reaffirmed its exit without delay from West African bloc ECOWAS. Mali said it was not bound by the organization's 1-year time frame for withdrawal. Bamako's military government announced its withdrawal from ECOWAS on January 28, along with neighboring Niger and Burkina Faso. A group of Senegalese opposition politicians and their representatives have called on stakeholders to come together to get President Macky Sall to back down on the reverse of the election postponement. Now, this comes after the election was postponed until December, plunging the country into a political crisis. In Central Africa, conflict between M23 rebels and government forces is intensifying in eastern DR Congo's Masisi territory after days of unrest that have left dozens injured. Tensions in Masisi have displaced residents of many villages and overwhelmed health centers. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Now it's back to you guys, Osaoge and Joe.
Thank you, Dashin, for being dashing with that headlines there.
We're not going to do that again. So.
Yeah, I mean, I thoroughly took a look at these stories that you brought to us thus far this morning, but I must admit, I must be honest with you, our minds are still, cast on the Super Eagles. So, in as much as we really want to discuss what's happening, around the politics, which we will in the course of the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
One person I think I need to quickly take time out to celebrate this morning is Coach Ossai Pissarro. Nobody's celebrating Nigeria's coach, but they're so quick to castigate him when the team wasn't doing well. So we're going to celebrate him and say, well done, Coach Pissarro. You have done a great job with that team. You earn it, and you deserve to continue to be the coach of that team, regardless of what happens on Sunday on the 11th. We do not care, but that's
well,
me.
He's done a fantastic job.
Good luck to him, and I hope it's a great ending for the Super Eagles and for Coach Pissarro. But thanks again for those stories. Some of them, of course, we'll definitely follow up and see where they lead, especially the ones concerning security and continuous meeting with the service chiefs. Thanks very much, Dashin. We'll see you at 9.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome once again. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, says that it has effected the arrest of 13,664 suspected illicit drug traffickers, leading to the seizure of 1 million kilograms of banned substances, including several convictions and dislodgement of suspected drug barons since 2021. The chairman of the agency made this known in Abuja and pledged to consolidate on the gains recorded in the past 3 years. Marvelous Obomanu has the details.
According to the United Nations Office for Drugs and Crime in Nigeria, 14.3 million Nigerians within the age bracket of 15 and 64 years abuse drugs. While many think that this worrying statistic is one that should bother any right-thinking government, Nigeria's National Drug Law Enforcement Agency says that it has taken the bull by the horns to change the narrative, which has been evident in the last 3 years. The agency, during its biannual Command Award ceremony, commended several personnel that have distinguished themselves in the war against illicit drugs trafficking.
Step forward.
The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency in the last 3 years has made significant progress. And this progress can be tracked in the number of seizures, arrests, prosecutions, and damaging of large farmlands used in cultivating cannabis sativa. And this wouldn't have happened without the efforts and sacrifices of officers, men and women of the agency, whom today are being honored for their hard work.
We recorded 13,664 arrests, leading to the seizure of 1,606,800 kilograms of assorted illicit drugs and 3,412 convictions, with a total of 5,570 offenders charged to court in 2023. It is indeed a year that at least 15 drug barons bagged 168 years of imprisonment collectively.
The chairman of the agency says that a reduction in the intake of banned drugs is a feat that was achieved in the last 3 years. He says the achievement can be attributed to the agency's advocacy program, which was carried out nationwide.
A total of 2,725 sensitization lectures and programs were held in schools, worship centers, workplaces, and communities, among others.
One of the awardees commended the reward mechanism of the agency, saying it will boost the morale of personnel and encourage hard work.
We thank you, Your Excellency, for identifying the need for the reward for hard work. Having listened to your speech, the quantity and quality of arrests and performance of the officers is enough for celebration. Shaibu Benam Gaba.
The essence of an award is to work even more hard. It is therefore expected that these officers here who have been honored will show more commitment and doggedness in the fight against illicit drug. It will also serve as an encouragement for other officers to know that indeed honesty and integrity pays. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obomanu.
Well, thanks to Marvelous Obomanu for that very interesting report. And of course, it's probably also important to give kudos to the NDLEA chairman currently, Buba Marwa. He has, I think everyone must have noticed that there has been new energy in the NDLEA since he has been in charge. But besides that, as much as we have these figures and these numbers, I would also, I think it's also important, that they go on and let us know how much improvement the country has seen in the last couple of years. with regards the inflow of illicit drugs into the country, with regards the sale of illicit drugs into the country. Because yes, you might arrest as many people as possible, and I'm not being a spoil sport here, but you might arrest these numbers and prosecute as many people as possible, but if it continues to still flow into the country, then it feels like it's defeating the purpose. And what you're going to keep doing is arresting and arresting and arresting. There has to be a way to stop the inflow. It's the same thing with the proliferation of arms across Nigeria. We've complained about this thing for the last, decade or even more than a decade now, that, our borders are seemingly too porous for our liking, for the security of this country. It's pretty much the same thing with drugs. Yes, kudos once again to the NDLEA, but we'd like to see the improvement, all right? How much has how much reduction, have we been able to achieve in the inflow of drugs into the country? And what more do we need to do? In which other ways, which other agencies need to work harder to ensure that we reduce it, and stop the damage that is doing to our society across the whole country. But once again, kudos to the NDLEA, and we hope that, of course, the work continues. Kudos to Buba Marwa also so far.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you take a look at the statistics, by the way, the NDLEA had released a statistic that said 3,412. That's the number, 3,412 offenders were convicted in 2023 alone. Out of that, they also bagged 168 years in jail. So if you have that
in total, okay.
Yeah, in total, which is very, very commendable. We must commend the NDLEA for the efforts they've put in. We've never had it this tough. For me, it's what I call Sunday tonic now, because every Sunday there's always a release of someone being caught, and you always find that every Sunday that, oh, this is a press release, this person has been caught, and so on. But then again, it makes me ask, so before the general, that's Buba Marwa, came into the NDLEA, what was happening before? Were the persons who took charge of the NDLEA, were they sleeping while these things were going on? Because it seems like since he took over, there has been a good blockage or a good blocking of the leakage or the areas that were leaking, and now people are being apprehended more. I mean, the figures indeed will tell you.
There's still, ways that, they're being criticized, for high-handedness and the likes. And every now and then, I think I saw a story here in Lagos, a while ago, where they were, seemingly going overboard with their processes. But, my point is, yes, we can arrest 1 million people, right? But that really is just throwing more and more and more people into prison, into jail. How much improvement have we seen with the, being able to block the flow of drugs into Nigeria? That's what, I'm hoping that we're able to see. And also, give us some statistics. This is where we were in 2015. This is where we are in 2020 and then 2024. And show us that, okay, we've reduced the inflow of drugs. We've reduced, the sale of drugs to underage people and some of all of that. But anyway, that's a total different conversation. Let's move away from talking drugs now and go to Anambra State, where there's other issues going on there. The Anambra State Government, in collaboration with security operatives, yesterday raided a baby factory in Umunya, in Oyi Local Government Area of the state, and rescued 6 pregnant teenagers from the facility. The State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Afam Obidike, after the raid, noted that the baby factory where the babies were being sold had the name Mother and Child Hospital and Maternity, located along the Tansian University, Umunya. Obidike said the state's health facility, accreditation and monitoring unit arrived at the facility for its routine inspection when it made the discovery.
Wow. Anyway, according to the commissioner, the medical attendants, working in the facility, locked up the place and absconded. A request was also made to see the doctor on duty to find out why the facility was not registered with the state government. The police assisted the monitoring team in gaining access into the facility and also discovered 6 underage pregnant girls between ages 14, 15, 16, 17, and the oldest was 21 years, allegedly camped against their wishes by one self-acclaimed doctor who identified as Mr. Odili Ossai from Delta State, who is now at large. It's a very big conversation. We're now joined this morning by Linda Nnodiogu. She is a writer and a child sexual abuse advocate Thank you so much, Linda, for joining us this morning. All right, Linda, we'd like if you could actually unmute your microphone so we can hear you loud and clear. I do understand you're joining us all the way from Anambra State. The particular place where this is happening shouldn't be very far off from you, if I stand to be corrected. So, Linda, tell us, what was it like, especially when this story broke in Anambra State?
It is a very hard story, especially since we've been having such reports of recent. The Commissioner for Women Affairs has, in the past few months, busted a few of these baby factories. So this particular story, especially with the age of the youngest child being 14, is a heartbreaking story. It is something that every mother, every parent out there dreads.
Yeah, heartbreaking, no doubt, but there's demand, and then there's supply, and then there's the criminals who, of course, engage in this very, very disgusting criminal activity. So tell us about, why there is even the demand in the first place, and if this is, because if we need to tackle the problem, it's not just only arresting these doctors and the people who run that facility. There has to be more done to tackle the problem from the root. So talk a little bit more about why there is a demand for that, and how the whole process works before that leads to having underage children being used as baby factories.
One of the reasons why these baby factories seem to be thriving in present time is there's childlessness and there is greed. So I think most of the time, a lot of hospitals are affiliated, even churches are affiliated to these baby factories. There are centers where they claim they can, churches where they claim that they can make women who are in need of babies get pregnant. And at the end of the day, they end up giving them injections that make them appear pregnant. And at the end of the day, they give them these babies that they were gotten from these baby factories. Another thing is greed. People do a lot of things for money. So people set up these factories, they sell these children. A lot of things are associated with this baby factory, even kidnapping. They kidnap young girls. Young girls are held against their wish. And then there is child abuse too. Young girls who are abused and they get pregnant because of it. Some of them are sent out of their home. Some of them run away from home, and they end up in the hand of this baby factory owners who have agents who go around scouting and looking out for young girls they can manipulate into, coming over there. And most times these girls are held against their wish. It is not just a one-time thing. They can have these babies, and before you know it, in the next few months, they have someone get them pregnant again, because it is a cycle. It is a vicious cycle that continues, and especially when people around these places who see what is happening there, people keep quiet and tend to mind their business when things like this are happening. So greed is a contributing factor to this, and barrenness is a contributing factor. And the most important thing, even ritual killing, the high rise in organ trafficking is also connected to this child trafficking and baby factory menace we're facing, especially right here in the East.
All right. Taking a look at, the chart and a few research work that has been put in place, we do recall that every year this seems to be, it seems to repeat itself. In 2019, baby factory was discovered in Abia. You also had in Ogun State in 2020, Lagos State in 2020 as well. 2018, I remember Lagos State, Isolo as well, here in Lagos. You also had the East as well. So it seems like it's proliferated. It's everywhere. But my question is, do you think enough is being done to sensitize the public so that people can be aware? Because most of these places where these girls are being kept are not far off from neighboring areas or where people also live. Do you think enough is being done? And if not, what do you think can and should be done?
I do not think enough is being done, because I think that we've not really scratched the surface of how bad this is. Enough is not being done. The government, the ministry, everybody involved should sit. Everybody needs to, all hands needs to be on deck to be able to discover this, they are not far. And I think that what needs to be done is sensitization of the public. Sometimes people see things, know something is not right about a certain place, and they tend to mind their business. So sometimes it is because they are ignorant, they do not understand what is happening there. Sometimes because they lack the right information. And another thing is that they do not know where or whom to report to. You can go to your nearest police station and report something like this, and they might not take action. So I think the government needs to, the same way we run campaigns on serious issues, the way they went ahead, they do campaigns for HIV and every other serious issue. I think there should be a rise in campaign against child trafficking and these baby factories on news stations, in churches. All hands needs to be on deck. They need to start mounting billboards along the roads, stating that child trafficking or what these baby factories look like, what people should look out for, and who they should report to. So I think on social media, like I said, all hands needs to be on deck. NGOs, government officials, the church, even in schools, because sometimes these young girls are scouted. They kidnap them from school, or they get their contacts from school. So I think a lot of work needs to be done. Even young children in secondary schools and even universities need to be sensitized on this issue. They need to be told for these agents and how they go about their business.
Okay, now, so let's also understand exactly what the crime here is, because yes, underage teenage pregnancy definitely is one thing, to be looked at. But so will it be a problem if this ladies who are pregnant now were adults? Would that be the, challenge? And also, so yes, you spoke about barrenness, you spoke about childlessness. There's the option of surrogacy. So can you speak on the legality of surrogacy and the amount of information that people are, have concerning that option, and why it is not, the best option for people who have the need for a child and can't give birth?
Okay, surrogacy is, I would say it's not very popular down here in Nigeria or Africa generally. Even adoption, people are yet to accept adoption as a means of getting their children because of the stigma attached to these things. People want to act in a way that to present to the world that they gave birth to their children themselves, because of the stigma attached to adoption or getting your babies from any other means. But I think that while we are sensitizing against child trafficking and against baby factories, I think that there should be sensitization on other options where people who are barren or people who need children, who want children, can go about these things. Surrogacy is legal, but I think that it costs a lot of money. It costs money to have it done. And I think there needs to be some legal backings before someone can be a surrogate for someone. And apart from the cost, there is the trust issue. People might think that if someone can carry the baby and at the end of the day wouldn't want to let go or might come back tomorrow and start, depending on what the issue is. And then there is a case of hospitals, fertility clinics that run this surrogacy issue. So I think that people with the right information, even through hospitals, I think sometimes they are linked to these baby factories. And you talked about the age. Here, it is not just about being underage. Buying and selling of human being is a crime in this country. So whether it is an unit or not, it is still a crime, and it's punishable by law.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why, of course, mentioned the option of surrogacy, because if it didn't have these other, little details here and there that make it maybe not the, best option, then we maybe wouldn't call it buying and selling of babies, because people will simply lean towards the surrogacy option. And if the argument is, we're ashamed to let people know that we didn't, carry this pregnancy by ourselves, if you're buying it from a baby factory, it's the same thing. The only difference is that it is purely illegal when you do it that way. So if we found ourselves, if we're able to share, the surrogacy idea or sell it well enough to Nigerians, remove the stigma that comes with it, and then also make it seemingly more affordable, would that be, a better option? Do you think that these, crimes will reduce?
Yes, I think it will reduce. Even and another thing is the process of adoption. If it's made easier and cheaper for people, I think adopt it. The same thing with surrogacy. If there is more awareness about it, if the public is sensitized, well, sometimes it's not just about the awareness, it's about the acceptance of it. If people are sensitized about not making people feel bad for going through this process to get their own baby. So I think that if enough sensitization is done, the price or the process is made easier and affordable for people. People will go for that option. And again, punishment for people who are caught doing things like this. Punishment, and I think that punishment should not just be for people who committed the crime, but a sort of punishment for people in the areas where these things happen and they keep quiet. Maybe bring them in for questioning or something like that to help people become aware and sensitive to the things happening around them. Because these baby factories, they are right in the middle of residential areas. People see young girls pregnant, some kind of movement that should be reported. So with the sensitization, reduction in price, and affordability and availability, I believe that it will reduce. Once the demand drops, I believe that the supply will also drop.
Anyway, I just wanted to add that what we're talking about here is a serious crime. I mean, taking someone's daughter is even tantamount to kidnapping. But you're not just kidnapping, you're taking someone's child away from them where they don't see them. Some of the missing children we don't see anymore. This is where they end up. And then they're being used as a machine to produce. And that's where you have factories. They're not machines. You just put them there so that they can produce children for people, and then you sell off the children. I don't know, I stand to be corrected, but I want to stand differently and say it's far different from surrogacy. I'm sorry. A surrogate, I want a child, so I go to someone and say, listen, carry my child for me, for I am my husband. This is taking someone's child from them. They don't see them anymore. I have a daughter, so if you take my daughter where I don't see her again, and you keep her somewhere, and then she starts producing children for people, nah, nobody's going to take that. But then again, I mean, it leads to me asking you this very key question. I mean, you're a writer, you've done research and so on and so forth. What happens to these ladies, these girls? Have you been able to follow up? What happens to them after they've been rescued? Is there any therapeutic center that they're being cared for? Is there anywhere where they care for them? Because from my reading on this entire story, I found out that a lot of them, after they've been rescued, the police has been able to apprehend and, shut down the center. Nobody hears about these girls any longer. We also hear that some of them go back into this system or they go into prostitution. So, I mean, I don't know if you've done a research on this, what I'm asking. What happens to them? Are they transferred to a therapeutic area? Are they being cared for? Does the government care for these ones and so on?
It's the sad part of the whole thing. Usually when these places are bust and the girls, they are released, most times they try to reunite them with their families. But you know that when someone goes through this kind of experience, depending on how the child got there, a lot of them, like I said, are kidnapped victims. They're young girls who are kidnapped and lured to these places. So this does a lot to their psyche. It affects, they are traumatized. Some of them, depending on how long, they spend years in those baby factories. So sometimes when they are released, I do not know of any therapy whatsoever for any of those girls. They are usually released, they are reunited with their families, and at some point they are left on their own. So sometimes these girls are pregnant when they leave these homes, and there is usually no follow-up, which is how some of them end up in the baby factories or in the hand of their agents who end up buying their babies again. And another thing is that some of them get used to this. For them, they no longer see it as a crime committed against them. They are not seeing it as a business because they are used to selling their babies. So that is how they end up continuing this business of baby selling. And that's a huge problem. I think that's also one of the places the government needs to step in. Afterwards, therapy for the girls who have been in this system and who need to be reorientated back into the society.
Yeah. Wow. All right, Joy Nnodiogu, thank you very much for stopping by. We hope that some of these things, of course, come to an end. But yes, the arrests need to be made, investigations need to be carried out for those who source these girls, those who impregnate them, those who house them. Everybody, has questions to answer. We'll be speaking with you again. Hopefully, on much brighter stories.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, let's move on now to another story very quickly. The Nigerian government has initiated an emergency meeting of a special presidential committee to address the issue of food shortage or high cost of staple food across the country. The committee discussed preliminary measures to provide relief to the populace and ensure greater stability in the national food supply in the coming months. Our correspondent, of course, Nnodiogu Omonie, has more.
The recent event in Minna, Niger State, and even Abuja provide insight into rising concerns across Nigeria regarding high cost of living, particularly increases in food prices and availability issues.
People are not coming to the market to come and buy food items because everything have already cost.
The rate of need is increasing by the day. Of course, we know the inflation rate, we know the dollar to the naira, and people are finding it very difficult. Even the rich themselves are also complaining.
Over 70 million Nigerians currently live in extreme poverty and cannot afford basic meals, according to World Poverty Clock. Similarly, in 2023, the United Nations estimated that 25 million people will face hunger and malnutrition. Conflicts between farmers and herders, impact of climate change, rural to urban migration, and increasing cost of agricultural inputs like fertilizers amid inflation have been cited as contributing factors to Nigeria's food insecurity challenges. Experts have warned of potential food shortages that could threaten Nigeria's peace and stability if left unaddressed.
Food is the basic necessity of life, and people have to survive. That means those who may not have the urge to endure will resort to crime and criminality, and once criminality increases, then people become more insecure.
The government says it is implementing plans to tackle widespread food insecurity across the country.
Some of these will involve unlocking the foods that are available in most of the storage facilities around the country. You know that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture has some food reserve. Government is also talking to major millers and major commodity traders to also see what is available in their stores.
In July 2023, Nigeria declared a state of emergency on food insecurity. This involves utilizing savings from the recent fuel subsidy reductions to provide fertilizer and grains to farmers. While the benefits of this plan have yet to directly reach many Nigerian citizens, all eyes are on this government to provide intervention to address the current challenges with food security. Meanwhile, a federal high court sitting in Lagos has ordered the federal government to fix the prices of goods and petroleum products within 7 days. In Lagos for News Central, Nnodiogu Omonie.
Well, thanks, Nnodiogu Omonie, for that report. And I'm hoping that the government also understands that security, or insecurity rather, is one of the major challenges. It's not, a famine. It's not, just lack of fertilizer. It's not lack of grains. It's, security. And the challenges people are having in those parts of the country where major farming normally occurs. But thanks once again to Nnodiogu for that report. Now, what are Nigerians saying? We'll be sharing that with you next. And it comes up right next here on Breakfast Central.
So just as the Salga said, we want to see what Nigerians are indeed saying, and that's exactly what we're going to do this morning to find out what Nigerians have been doing online and most importantly, what they've been saying. So I'm just going to flip through my phone real quick and find out what the stories are and what Nigerians were saying, and guess the very first one. Can you guess? Absolutely, I'm sure you did. It's about the AFCON 2023. Yesterday, it was mind-boggling. It was indeed one that I would call a cliffhanger. It was something for you to hold on tight to your seats for. Nigeria taking on South Africa. I bet you know what happened before the game. There were a lot of banter online. People were talking. South Africans were talking. Nigerians were talking. Videos were here and there. But then again, the Super Eagles of Nigeria did win. They became champions, beating South Africa 4-2 via penalties. And that wasn't all. Guess what? Nigerians decided to take it to another level, of course, involving the Angolans, Cameroonians, Ghanaians, and the likes. And they took it to Twitter. So let's get to see what they said on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, you name it, as I would find out what they are saying. So here is the first tweet. I will take a look and see what they're saying. So, of course, the very popular Dr. Olufunmilayo, he says, that water, it's pidgin, so I need to read it that way. That water where Tyler sing, make the South African footballers go drink am. All right? They will need it. And that's exactly what he said. I'm sure you know why Tyler is mentioned here and why he also said they should go drink the water. Tyler, of course, won the Grammy. She beat Davido, she beat Burna Boy to the just concluded Grammy to pick up the awards where Nigerians felt they were robbed. And she picked it up for Africa, but you see, Nigerians feel that, you know, they're the giants of Africa, so they should have been the one to win. And they also felt that, I mean, Davido had put in so much work as well as Burna Boy, although Burna Boy not really because he's won it before. So they felt, you know, Davido deserved it. After all, he is part of the trio that are doing pretty well for Nigerian music, such as Burna Boy, Wizkid, and of course himself. But then again, this is what he said. Reactions were indeed very funny. Another one, this one says, we eat Ghana jollof tonight, take note, with Cameroon pepper and vibe with South African Amapiano. You need to put this together, juxtapose it, and then you get to see what he was trying to do there. Playing with words, in other words, simply saying that, listen, I mean, we've dealt with these guys, and then we need to also relish and enjoy what they're being known for. So we eat Ghana jollof, you know that jollof war now, yeah, most importantly. And then, you know, enjoy it with Cameroon pepper, and then, of course, vibe with South Africa's Amapiano. Very, very witty, no doubt. Let's take a look and see what Nigerians are also saying concerning the AFCON. And let's find out what else they said. Now, this one I found to be very detailed. And, I mean, Bol Bill goes ahead to say, electricity, we don't have, you know, Nigeria's problem now with the national grid, yeah? Good roads, we don't have. Good government, we lack it. Grammy, they refuse to give any of our artists, and you, SA, think you'd rob us of our only opportunity to shine. And then she ends with, in case you don't know our motto for this year, 2024, I'm going to tell you all, it's no gree for anybody. And that's exactly what took place yesterday. And truly, it was a case of no grief for anybody. I can categorically tell you that South Africa is still trending this morning. And of course, Nigeria, South Africa game, the hashtag is still trending. But these are just a tip of the iceberg of every other reactions that we saw on the entire social media space. Very funny indeed. And we want to say well done. The videos, the clips of the Super Eagles celebrating are indeed online everywhere. And the videos are showing what they were doing in the dressing room. It was indeed very, very interesting to note. It's not just because I'm a Nigerian, but because of the feel that the AFCON brought, especially yesterday, because Nigerians are indeed going through a lot. So this was like a measure of relief, okay? And I can tell you that the celebrations were indeed rife from those who were supporting the supporters club on the stands down to the action itself. You know what? Let's take a look at what else Nigerians are saying. Another topic, a very topical issue. It came out yesterday, and I'm going to flip straight into that one. It had to do with this image you see here on the screen. Now, NAF, of course, which has to do with one of Nigeria's strongest defense force, actually presented the newly acquired helicopters that will be used to fight, of course, crime, insurgency, and the likes. In the mix of presenting the helicopters and, of course, having a show, they also decided to present a portrait of Nigeria's president. Let me see. This is Nigeria's. Yeah, all right. Anyway, This is what the video looks like. Ignore the song behind. All right, so there you have it. Like I said, ignore the song because apparently the original video has been remixed all through on social media space, and that's what Nigerians are saying. You may wonder, what's the big deal about the portrait? Well, there's nothing there. That's, but I don't know. Maybe we could put a still picture of the image, and let's really look through. Is this the president? I don't know, maybe. But anyway, how Nigerians reacting to this portrait very quickly. Well, let's get to see what they say. And the very first one says, send all of them to jail. Who is he talking about? Well, a post before this one, he's talking about anybody who carried out in the artistic drawing or whatever, putting that portrait together. He says they should all be sent to jail because obviously that didn't look like the president. It looked quite different. And let's see another tweet as well, what Nigerians are saying about this story. This one says, hey, why our military go Photoshop our president? So emphasis on Photoshop, because if you take a look at the image, really, we do know that it didn't look like that's the president's body, okay? It looked quite different, and it was like superimposing the president's face on the body, and it wasn't really done appropriately. I mean, we could do better now. But this, that's why he said, why? Why would they do that? More is expected. And I think maybe we fell short on this one. And the final one, this says they could have even used this thing to do secondary school art competition and got better entries. Haba, not good, NAF. Not good at all. But there are many other reactions concerning this story. But like I said, we'll just comb around and try to sift some of them. And these are what Nigerians are saying. Let me quickly bring Osaoge into this conversation. Osaoge, let's start with this one first. I don't know your thoughts. I know, kind of like, I don't know if we touched on this yesterday, but you can see the reactions on this story. What do you make of it?
Well, I mean, where do I even start from? From football, you know, I think we spoke about that already, and I think everyone should understand that it's really just it's banter. You know, there's nothing serious about it. You know, it shouldn't go beyond this. We would crack jokes. It happens with the EPL, happens with the NPFL. I'm sure it happens in South Africa also. It's no big deal. It's just banter, and we will continue for as long as possible. It's probably also one of the things that makes the game beautiful. The banter that comes with it. Mm-hmm. But for the second story, so things like that are what other countries will use as banter material against us.
Sorry to cut in. They actually did. They did. They actually did.
You see,
I didn't pull out that tweet. They actually did and said, "Is this your president?" You know.
We keep setting ourselves up. We keep setting ourselves up, and that's the problem. If we continue to do things like this in public, we keep setting ourselves up, and if we don't win AFCON, these are the material that they have, the material that our enemies have against us to banter is just too much. Because why are you printing out a photoshopped picture of the president? I don't even know if that's the best picture of him, of the president standing with an helicopter. Who is this individual? That's one. But another thing is, and this is the sad part for me, aside the banter, this is also what happens when you don't have a president who's on ground. Because when this was given out, I believe the president was still in France.
Yeah.
So the vice president had to go represent him.
Yes.
Great. So this is what happens when you don't have a president who is on ground to attend to national issues. Because in a sane society, if we lived in a country that, if Nigeria worked the way we wanted it to work, Mr. President will be the one to receive these things by himself, or not. He probably doesn't even need to receive it, because the Air Force is doing their job. Do your thing, receive your helicopters and move on with securing Nigeria. But because we have a president that once he's back now, the next time we would likely see Mr. President is maybe videos from the FEC meeting, or if he goes to visit some traditional rulers in the north. But if it is for critical national issues, we almost wouldn't see Mr. President. And I said it before that this started with President Muhammadu Buhari. He became president, and it was a holiday for 8 years. He's not discussing with the press. He's not answering, any press questions. He's not been interviewed on national television. He's not, attending to accident victims or disaster victims. Absolutely nothing. The only people we heard from, for 8 years was Femi Additional and I can't remember the other guy's name.
Most importantly, Femi Additional.
Yes,
yeah.
And the vice president was even seen more than him. So he started that, and then President Tinubu, of course, now. I think, so I said that when that happens, it lets people know that, it's possible. You can actually just win the presidency and stay indoors. That's what's happened. That's why we have had the Nigerian Air Force give some graphic artists, the job to, create an image of the president in a helicopter. Because they don't see presidents.
So wait, normally they're supposed to snap the president, Abi, like Presido.
Okay. Maybe
so
he
was
supposed to wear there.
Yeah, like put on the attire and stand behind it so they could take a proper picture and put it in a portrait. So since they didn't see, okay, I get your point. So they didn't see him, so they just superimposed the body.
Yeah, and then,
and then present it. Wow.
Because he wasn't there. And again, I would also say, it's not entirely important that he's even there in the first place or that they will present it to him. But if this is normal protocol, okay, we receive helicopters, let's present it to the president, that's fine. But at the same time, a president who is on ground attending to national issues every single day will be there. He will be there. President Buhari was criticized many times for, even when soldiers died, he didn't attend burials, none of all those things. The president will be there. You wouldn't need this if he was present, if he was in Nigeria to receive these things by himself. This is embarrassing. This is really, where are they going to hang this picture?
So the conversation, will leave it to the State House to decide if it's going to be at the entrance, wherever it's going to be. But then again, like they said, we need to find who created it. I'm sure the creator must have.
This is embarrassing. Anyway.
Anyway, let's bring to you a recap of some of the big stories that we've discussed this hour here on Breakfast Central. All right, so we're right back. Again, it's time for the front pages of the papers. Please do recall that you can be part of the papers by reacting, and all you need to do is just call the phone number on the screen. You can start calling now. As we bring the stories to you, you can start dialing, and then we would, bring you into the conversation. We do have the enigmatic CKN join us. In case you do not know who he is, well, let the cameras do the talking. By the way, I like your black suit, sir. You look dapper.
Thanks,
all right?
bro. Thanks,
okay.
bro. Thanks,
all right. Okay, over to you. I don't know, we're going to that.
Absolutely. Let's get straight into it. The newspapers, we're starting off with the Daily Trust newspapers this morning. Let's see what major stories we can find. It says that bandits threaten to marry bride, sell 62 wedding guests as they demand 100 million naira ransom. If it wasn't so sad, it would be actually very funny. And of course, in sports, Nigeria beat South Africa to set up AFCON final with Côte d'Ivoire. 5 months after, Tinubu yet to replace recalled ambassadors. It says, writer says, we do things upside down in Nigeria, says an ex-envoy. New ones to be announced soon. The minister's aide, of course, responds. Abuja unsafe, says the Senate. 3 soldiers killed in Nasarawa. NSA 6 UK's help for security. Senegal, US CDD condemned presidential poll shift. And Forex crisis, nothing for Nigeria as our crude oil sold in advance. Oh, wow. All right, let's get into it. I think we could start with the story there with bandits threatening to marry the bride and sell off the 62 wedding guests as they demand 100 million naira ransom. Mr. Wandu.
All right, that starts with, on a cherry note. This issue of bandit killing, stealing, and for me, I don't want to start that way this morning because it's a very bright day. I slept well. And yes, that's
and you enjoyed the game.
And enjoyed the game. So it's better we start. Let us start on a very, very good note.
Congratulations.
So let's congratulate Nigerians. Let's congratulate ourselves for qualifying for the finals. That's good news. He made the front page. The picture is there. So I think we should just start with that. And I was highly delighted with the match yesterday, although I had my heart in my mouth. And the South Africans proved so many pundits wrong because we thought that it was going to be a walk in the park. I expect there's going to be a walkover. But if you look at the game, at the end of the game, you look at the possession is about 60-40 to Nigeria. So that means they really, but we'll be Agbabola now. You know, Egbon, when you understand what I mean. So the penalty shootout and the rest of them, and so many Nigerians, and not fully confirmed, but I can say as a journalist from my own investigation that we lost a top politician whose name I'm not going to mention now, but within the day the news will fully break. But we lost a top politician last night while he was watching the football during the penalty shootout, and he died. And I'll be able to confirm that news, but it's not for us to break until the family comes up. But so our heart goes to the family. But the corp, let us also continue to pray that our Spagos do. But I beg you, may they talk to. Osime is doing very well, but what will happen to that in head? I don't know. I don't know the way he has been. Maybe after these days, maybe you need to go to Ronaldo. You understand?
Yeah, to learn how to direct.
Those of those headers. Yes. I think that is the only thing.
It's maybe just not one of his strong,
Yeah, no, but he has been using that. He's been using that at Napoli. Yes, I've been using. So if you see how many misses, not only at that yesterday's match, and also he couldn't use the hair properly. I don't know what the problem is. But congratulations, Nigeria. So let's go to the bandits now. Yeah. And there is nothing new in what they are saying. We remember what happened at Chibok. Yes. When the girls were kidnapped, the bandits they were taken away. Some of them we are married away till today. We can't find most of those girls. So they're just following a tag that is known to them. But it's a very, very sad narrative that 8 years, 10 years after the Chibok issue, we are still here. Yeah. And we are still talking about people being kidnapped. These are wedding guests. They were going for a wedding, and they were just picked, and the rest of them. You can be rest assured that at the end of it all, we will not be able to get all those women back. And we've been saying it that this issue of insecurity is really, 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 really getting out of hand. Before, it was limited to some part of the north. Now it's all over the place. Yeah. And nobody seems to be doing anything. The Senate invited the established chiefs a few days ago, and they say, oh, we're on top of what? On top of what? And I continue to ask, for how long will we continue to be on this trajectory? And things are getting bad. We are talking of the economy. The economy cannot thrive in a situation where of insecurity. Nobody is going to come to invest here. Those are the parts of what we've been saying. Thank God the president is back, but I hope the president will be able to sit down and be able to do the needful. But the question we'll continue to ask is, what is the president going to do? Nobody is giving an answer to that. It's quite unfortunate.
Yeah, and maybe those attack helicopters, that he took a picture with, maybe also wouldn't.
You made the one that you were Photoshop. Which one? Who told you that he took it? Those are the one that was. When did he take the picture? Let's not. I bet more no good there. Yes,
maybe.
But I want to ask: Do you think that this is a problem of being overwhelmed by the security challenges and the kidnappings here and there, overwhelmed, lack of infrastructure and the ability to tackle it, or internal saboteurs, that might be the problem?
There's so many factors, everything put together. Even within the security system, architecture, we have saboteurs. We have fifth columnists, as we say in journalism. Yeah. So it's a whole lot. Okay. Last week I was talking about the trust deficit. It's also very, very, very fundamental. Yeah. Okay. People volunteering information, they're not ready to do that because they know that it will be traced back to them, and there have been instances where that happened and they were killed. So it's the whole, but my own is that the essence of government is the protection of life and property of the citizens. Any government, anywhere in the world, is not able to do that. Let me give a classical example. About a week ago, 3 American soldiers were killed in Iraq by an attack. As of this morning, America will be able to pinpoint the leader of that attack, and he was bombed yesterday inside Iraq using drone. They said they are going to get to him. He was killed yesterday. Apart from the other districts. That is a thing that is serious. Before any other person can raise up his head and say, I'm going to attack Americans or America anywhere, he will think twice. We saw what happened to Osama bin Laden. We saw what happened to the leader of ISIS and the rest of them. This is not just beyond us. I believe that we still have, we have the security, we have the men that can do the job. But the problem is that we have the political will to be able to go the whole long to get this job done. Yeah. That is where the issue is.
Anyway, I have my own reservations concerning the U.S.
We've talked. Okay.
Before I start to vex.
No vex.
Because what are you doing in Iraq in the first place? But just to quickly share with our viewers, the phone numbers are active. You could join the conversation, share your thoughts with us concerning kidnappings or any of the stories that we're sharing in the news this morning. Call those numbers or tweet at us at News Central TV. Let's move away from the Daily Trust. See what else we can find.
All right, let's go straight to the next newspaper this morning. It's the Vanguard. And like Sikian said, I mean, all papers, we have been denied of good news on the front pages. Sometimes someone asks, how do you guys do this? You wake up in the morning and all you talk about is bad story. It has an impact on your psyche. And I said, yes. So when we see the good one, I mean, let's jump on it. Super Eagles soar into AFCON finals. Beat plucky South Africans 4-2 on penalties. You can see Victor Osimhen and the likes, and kudos to that captain of ours. Yeah, Troost is really a leader. You can see his efforts and what he was doing, leading the park. Kaduna governor blames poverty, hopelessness, and others on insecurity. Okay, we've heard this before. Tackle Nigeria's insecurity issues head on. Catholic Church to federal government. Will open reserves to address food costs, federal government says, and we did take a report earlier on in the first hour, but the federal government, and don't forget, when the president came back, the first thing he did is summoned a committee and said what's going on with food prices and so on. But one thing struck and shocked us was that it follows with this story. I'd like you to react to this. Court orders federal government to fix prices of petrol, diesel, others within 7 days. 7 days. It started from... They said that yesterday, so the pronouncement was yesterday, so it starts from today. 7 days. I don't know if the weekend is added.
As a law graduates, there are things we call laws that you cannot enforce. Yeah. This is just one of them. So it's just mere academic exercise as far as I'm concerned, the pronouncements. Because when you say the government should fix prices, they say milk, food, fuel, and the rest of them. And funny enough, it was the senior advocate of Nigeria that took the case to court, Falan. And I would just want to wonder how they are going to do that. Let me even, it will be a bit comical. I believe that, with all due respect, Femi Falana SAN must have some buildings where tenants live. Can you say the government should fix the amount it's going to collect from those buildings? You understand what I mean? Those are basics. So, yeah, it makes sense, but you're not even a communist. Even in communist societies like Russia, you cannot fix prices of goods and services. It's free entry, free exit. A man that is bringing his tomatoes from Nasarawa State, you're not going to fix the price. The man that is bringing his yam from Benue State, you're not going to fix this thing. The man that is going to bring his palm oil from my village in Obo in Imo State, you cannot tell him to fix the price. You cannot fix. Because you don't know what goes into it. You don't know the cost it has incurred.
I mean, so would it make sense for the government to fix the price and then subsidize where necessary? And pay the extras?
They can't do it.
It's not even possible.
It's not possible. How would they do that? Even the price of petrol that was at a point that was fixed. So what happened? In this country now, there are still some places that you buy petrol for about 800 naira per liter. Yeah. Some part of the north, some part of the east, even the south. Even when they say, okay, even Lagos.
Even Lagos selling for 605.
Yeah, that is nothing. So even when the prices were fixed, that it was fixed, it wasn't possible. So I think it's just the fact is that we are leaving the problem and just pushing issues like that. What I expect this and to do is to, although also even if you take that to court, that is not possible. Is how government must be able to be compelled to make life more meaningful to Nigerians. That is what I think we should be looking at. Somebody should start suing the federal government. I say, I have lost somebody because of your lack of care. You understand what I mean? There are people are dying on a daily basis. We can't keep records. I'm telling you. There are some people that cannot afford to go to hospital again. Pregnant women are dying because their husband cannot pay for hospital bills for them to take delivery. Ordinary paracetamol that used to be 100 naira per sachet is almost 500 or 1,000 naira. And the purchasing power of the average Nigerian is not even, when have they increased the salary they say they want to increase? So what are we talking about? So since between May and now, look at the cost of living. Look at the inflation rates, and see what has happened. We've increased price of fuel for close to about 300%. And that's had a spiral effect on everything. Once you increase fuel, it affects every other thing, including the house that they built in 1950. Yeah. Because your landlord will tell you the cost of building materials has gone up. Go and check out the price of cement. It's about 7,000 naira.
Yeah, we saw that.
Yes, it's about 7,000 naira. We are battling at a point that it's 2,005, 3,000, 4,005. It is about 7,000 now. And that is why I have always been warning that, in as much as people say, Dangote fuel, petrol is going to change, and they say, be careful of monopoly. Wherever there is monopoly, there is tendency for whoever is in charge to be able to dictate the price. Because if you look at Nigeria now, which company is supplies when it comes to issue of cement, which company is Dangote? Bua and the rest of them are just struggling. But close to about 80% of the market is by Dangote. And the price is high, has hit about 7,000. There was a time that Bua came out to say that, they are going to keep the price at about 2.5, about 3.5
at some point.
At the end of it, what happened?
We didn't see it.
It's not fitting now. It's not possible. You want to run yourself out of the market. It's not possible.
All right. We have Philip calling us from Benue. Good morning, Mr. Philip.
Hello, good morning.
Morning. Welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah, how are you guys doing? First of all, I want to say big congratulations to Nigerians, cycles, everybody. But did you people notice what happened yesterday? Nobody was asking, is he from the north? Is he from the west? Is he from the south? What Nigerians are clamoring for is just the barest signal, and everybody will be happy. Take a look at what happened yesterday. It doesn't take our government anything to fix Nigeria. See how everybody was jubilating. Even the vice president went all the way to the work. These leaders should be ashamed of themselves. They should be ashamed of themselves. Just yesterday, everybody jubilated. I don't want to comment on any other thing, but I just want us to learn a lesson from what happened yesterday. Nobody asked, these people, they are the IPOP. Nobody said, he's from Lagos. He's from, nobody. Let us learn the lesson from the game yesterday. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
That's an important, point. But so you can't blame just the leaders for that, because I agree that when it's time for elections, they will remind you of tribe and religion. There will be those that they will use to instigate those conversations here and there and remind you of who is Chinedu and who is IPOB and who is from the north and all of that. But I think Nigerians themselves need to also take the blame, because we saw the joy in the whole country yesterday. Yeah. Then why do we still fall for the tribalism when it's time to vote?
It is not about the people. Let me tell you, an average Nigerian has no problem with where you are from. You're not from my state. You're not from my state. We will be very good friends.
Yeah.
We meet, we banter, we sit down, take a bottle.
Sometimes you don't even know our names.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We sit down, we banter, we take a bottle or two. That is us. That is the average Nigerian. We meet outside Nigeria or more. With the road now, now.
Yeah.
That is Nigeria. That is the Nigeria I grew up to know. I'm 56, going 57. That is Nigeria I know. I went to Igbobi College. I went to Igbobi College. I didn't go to school in my school. Just like the secondary school you went to.
Yeah.
There were Yorubas. There were Hausas. There were people from different. In fact, most of your friends, if I can put that my name, are not from your tribe. That is us. We trust ourselves. I trust my friends. I trust people from other tribes. That is what I've come to learn. The problem has always been the leaders, and I say they are the leaders because they know that they have the weapon to be able to divide us. And once they be able to do that, then and what are the two things you said? Just like religion and ethnicity. That is all. It is only when it comes to election that you hear P2B, Atiku.
In football, you hear Stanley one.
For where?
But this in football. My point is,
yes,
it might be the leaders who,
yes,
and almost every politician uses that same tactic.
Yes,
you know, or the terrible ones.
Yeah.
The problem is the fact that we fall for it every single time means that we also are guilty.
That's what I'm saying.
Because we might. I get everything you've said, but
yes,
we are guilty. That we still fall for it.
Yes, we are guilty because because a language that continues to resonate in your mind sticks. It is not. It's in Lagos that we came to realize that some people are not Yorubas during the election.
Oh yeah, because
it's true.
We never knew.
We never knew.
We never knew.
We never knew that there are some people that are Yorubas or not Yorubas in Lagos. Lagos, you have voted. You have always voted the way you want. The people from different tribes voting for APC, voting for PDP. It was just at this election that when I said, if you don't vote for so this thing, then you are in for it. Yeah. And that is a message that is passed to certain people. I know the mentality of an average, especially those at that level.
Yeah. Well,
for somebody that is educated, for you and I that are educated, it doesn't make any sense to us, irrespective. But for those within that lower cadre, for goodness sake, it makes a lot of sense to them.
So I did see, fair number of similarly educated people, still spew the same tribe.
Those are just few numbers compared to. Yeah.
Remember, you could join the conversation. Share your thoughts with us on these stories that we're discussing this morning across the newspapers. We've just gone through the Vanguard. I think we can skim through the Punch newspapers next to see what we can find over there for you. The big one on the Punch says EFCC, or Forex crisis, EFCC 7,000-man task force goes after dollar racketeers. EFCC summons private varsity proprietors, companies, and others charging dollar fees. Government agencies violating law on Forex too. Also, Tinubu inaugurates student loan scheme February 21st. 500,000 jobs threatened over ban on sachet alcoholic drinks, says Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Government approval delays Dangote refinery fuel. And also in sports again, Wambali shines as Nigeria beats South Africa to reach AFCON final. Cash transactions rise to 611 trillion naira, says NIBS. I think, Oyo to prosecute 3 over Ibadan explosion. These are the stories that we can take on the Punch. So, Mr. Wando, I think we probably will start with the Forex crisis and the 7,000-man task force going after dollar racketeers. Let's see if that would help. And maybe also the ban on sachet alcohol.
I think EFCC just focus on its core mandate. Fighting corruption, arresting those that... they say EFCC, during the election, set up a task force to start running after those that buying votes. And that is not their core mandate now. We are just, there's what we call Yoruba, you say, you leave this thing, your headache, you are running after lakpa. If you know what lakpa you know what lakpa you leave headache when you worry, you go and run after. I don't think that they should just, but it's not every issue that comes, the EFCC just jump in. No. They are commanded. They are agencies that saddle with that responsibility. That is the mandate of CBN. He should go after it. Then, if he has problems, he should go to the police. That is a fraud unit within the police. They can use those agencies as well. Okay. If you identify them, then pass those information. Let us look at. Sarah, some few days ago, they say that over $3.4 billion was looted. Those are loans that we collected. Nobody is asking questions. That's where I was thinking EFCC should be going to and ask. So money is missing from NNPC accounts. They've not accounted for over 8 years.
Even the COVID money.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The COVID money. The one of Better Edu and the other woman that mistakenly transferred 40 billion naira to her account. How about that case? Do you see that on the front page of newspapers again? We've gone beyond this. The central bank governor was at the House of Representatives with the Minister of Finance, as well as the chairman, executive chairman of IRS a few days ago, and they were answering issues, questions surrounding this issue of forests and blah, 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 blah. I think that those issues can handle that. EFCC, how many manpower does the EFCC have? And that's why I've always said that. EFCC is just leaving its command. The EFCC wakes up today, tomorrow is Yahoo boys. Oh, I'm not for any reason trying to support the activities of these young men and the rest of them, but I believe that we're living the big picture. The big picture. Yeah. The main picture is the high level of corruption in Nigeria. There are people that sit and make billions and billions of naira on a daily basis doing nothing. EFCC knows them. The guy in the AGF that stole 109 billion. You saw what happened? Yeah. The guy who collected chief executive title few weeks ago, somewhere in the north. I'm sure you saw that.
Yeah, I did.
What are we talking about? They know all the guys, all the big guys. The governors, the ones that, even if you say you cannot prosecute the ones because they have this one, all the ones that just left, put a satellite on them. Apart from the one in Kogi and which other one, and then, what is this now? The guy, Anambra guy. Which other one?
Even Hadi Sirika, his brother.
That is it.
Yesterday.
That is it. You are talking about the brother. What Hadi Sirika?
Hadi Sirika himself, yeah.
Hadi Sirika that went to launch a logo and told us he's launched an airline and spent millions and billions of naira. By now, that guy should be behind the bar. They just say that we have a national carrier with logo. That was what we had. And he's sitting somewhere and tweeting on a daily basis. I read his tweets, talking all sorts of things. Yes, I've not gone after him. I say, oh boy, come here. The money that you took from Nigerian coffers to do this, come and account for it. Those are the things I think that those are the core mandates of EFCC. Not just tomorrow they say CK and they say I should come and account for 500,000 naira. For what now? Is that their job?
In defense of, or not in defense of Hadi Sirika, but you know, I believe that these things start in the mind. You need to first of all believe that you have a national carrier, and then.
Others will do national carrier. That's what they do. No, I want to. Maybe be shareholder.
Are you trying to be and then when you see the logo, it gives you
logo will fly. Logo will fly from London to Nigeria. Yeah. The Eagle said no great fly.
All right. Remember, you can still call us and share your thoughts with us. 500,000 jobs threatened over ban on sachet alcoholic drinks, says Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. I was arguing yesterday that I don't think a ban is the right step to take. It is mostly, you know, the same knee-jerk reaction that Nigerian agencies always have.
I totally agree. I totally agree with you. So let's even break this down. How many people can afford one full bottle of alcohol, as it were, presently at the current rates? How many people?
And even the sachets have gone up.
I'm not asking. Yeah. I'm talking about the bottle now. What of this thing? So Nigerians mustn't. If you say you're banning that, you can as well ban the sachet, those sachet milk, ban sachet, I don't want to call any brand, those beverages, ban sachet. That is not the problem. That is not the problem. Why are they banning? No reason. I've read through this press statement for NAFDAC till now. Nobody has given me any health challenges associated with that. Is that what the problem?
I think they mentioned, you know, that because underaged Nigerians were buying it because it was easy to put in the pocket. All of that.
So the bottle is not easy to put in the pocket. I better forget this. The fact, let me tell you, most of the time when we take policies decisions, we don't look at the spiral effect.
True. Yeah.
These people are kind of talking about loss of jobs. I agree. It might not be against the number they are pushing. But of course, so many organizations are going to fold up. There's no job. The little one that people are creating to be able to make ends meet, you are trying to kill. Why are you banning? What is the essence? What is your problem with such this thing? If I decide to buy 100 naira shepe and put for my mouth, how that one concern you? The best we can do is to warn me that, okay, let's take a critical example. Look at the cigarettes. Since we are growing up, there have always been this warning on cigarettes. Yeah. How many people have stopped smoking because of dying young? In fact, so I heard somebody they say, in fact, I want to die this young now. It doesn't make any difference. I think that the focus should be there. I think they should be focusing more on the effect of fake products and that is why I continue to miss someone like
all right, let's quickly take this call. Good morning. Williams, thanks for joining us.
Oh, okay.
All right, go ahead.
If you go to I went to the East during the Christmas. I will tell you the level of adulterated products in the Southeast, where I'm from.
Yeah.
You'll be shocked. I couldn't go to the market, I buy any beverage because of fear of adulteration. Beer, whiskey, there's no brand that has not been bastardized.
If you talk to any of the manufacturers, any of the food and beverage companies, it's number one on their list.
It is, and that is why you see them on a daily basis try to change the cork, try to change it. It doesn't work. Those are areas that, and you see that we go, they just go and pick. I'll give a classical example. I used to be the artist and promotions manager of Sony Music Nigeria for about 7-8 years. All the Lagbaja music you had, Sony, Shino Peters, name them. I was behind it. And at the point when you realize that the part of the problem, why the music industry was not thriving at that point in time, was because of piracy. We were having serious piracy issue. And an agency was set up, IFPI was set up to be able to tackle the issue. We were not going and picking all those boys selling those cassettes on traffic. We went to Alaba. We went to Onisha, where they had the big factories. We grabbed them, and the thing went down. The same thing that is the job of NAFDAC. So you just don't, the way they are going about it is not just the way to go about it.
All right. Good morning, Ogechi.
Ogechi, not Ogechi.
Okay, Ogechi. Good morning to you.
I beg your pardon. Go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. I think, can I go on?
Yes, please.
Yes. The matter you are discussing in the studio continues to resonate almost on a daily basis. Very unfortunately, our leaders every day did not the followers. Let me tell you, the issue of tribalism or ethnicity started the moment the government entered it into our into forms. Wherever you live, into our census forms, wherever you live, rather than say place of residence, they will now say place of birth or place of ethnic nationality. Such things ought not to occur in the first place. When you have place of residence, that should cover you as a full-fledged Nigeria, not to start asking your place of ethnicity. That is number one. Number two, the issue of corruption. I tell you one thing, the best way we can come out of this is to declare emergency of corruption. And how do we do that? To declare that anybody who knows is involved in any form of corruption should turn in his loot within a specified period. After that, anyone caught should be fired, killed. When we do that, we give them grace of, say, 6 months, turn in your loot. And if you fail to turn in your loot, you are dead. Once you make such law, I think we begin to learn. Because the truth is that this is a very rich country. The people are impoverishing us. Thank you very much.
Very true.
Let me just react to that. Yes, I agree to everything he said, but the latter part, people should be killed. We are not in a military regime.
Yeah.
Even in communist countries like Russia and China are coming a little bit down and show some level of human face. And the issue of corruption is endemic, and also we have the will to be able to tackle it. We will continue to find ourselves where we are. But the fact is that even those that are supposed to fight corruption are corrupt themselves. And that is the fact. Let me give you a classical example. All the EFCC chairmen, which of them have completed their tenure? All. Name one.
None.
So what does that tell you? So the person that was appointed to fight corruption got corrupted. And that is the system. And you come to realize that even at that, yes, we said that some traces of corruption were they prosecuted? Even the last one, what is his name, Bawa? Do we hear anything about Bawa again? The guy has gone back to just continue to enjoy his loot. Nobody's talking, nobody's saying anything. I know that you are as innocent as you are until you are found guilty, but you do follow it to the letter to make sure that this issue is proved. The woman, we got a woman to head it, Farida. What happened?
Same thing with Ibrahim Magu.
What happened to Ibrahim Magu?
Yeah.
Even the other DIG, the guy that became a DIG, that was in the system long before he now. And we said, these are the essence of stuff. Even Ribadu, that is not the NSA. I don't think Ribadu finishes his tenure. I don't know. I doubt it. Because we started having issue with Ribadu also. So that is the issue as it were. The man you sent to plow for God, he still have people that appointed him who he knows are corrupt. And he can't go after them. Instead, he'll be going after small road. Person leave fire, the fire where the boy house, go to run after that. That is not the issue. Right, so that's why I said the issue of dollar chase or no gender is in neither here or there issue for me.
All right. Chris Wando, thank you very much for stopping by. Interesting hearing your take. And of course, to those who called, thank you also for joining our conversation. Remember, it's happening every morning, 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. You can always be a part of it. Place your calls. Let's hear from you and what your thoughts are. All right. The All Progressive Congress has faulted criticism of President Bola Tinubu by candidates of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, and the Labour Party, Peter Obi, asking the duo to share suggestions with the president on how to effectively run the economy and governance. APC's National Publicity Secretary Felix Morka urged the two presidential candidates of opposition political parties to suggest ideas to President Tinubu and not just condemn what the government is doing to address the economic hardship in the country.
Well, Morka stated that opposition politics is not necessarily about condemning, added that Atiku and Peter Obi are making incendiary statements to instigate the public. Recall that Atiku Abubakar berated the Tinubu-led government, saying his chaotic policies were dashing hopes and pushing the country to the brink. Well, joining us this morning to look at this is public affairs analyst Ayo Adio, who joins us. Good morning to you, Ayo.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. So let's go straight into this. Let's take a look at the conversation. APC saying, listen, you don't need to criticize all the time. You may as well offer or proffer solutions to some of the nagging issues bedeviling the country. What's your take on that?
I mean, it's quite unfortunate that they would make that kind of statement. It's not really and truly the job of those in opposition to teach those in government what to do. At the very best, what the people in opposition can do is to prefer alternative ideas based on their own ideological leanings and how they would have done things differently if they were in government. It's not their job, to teach those in government or to help them to do what they were elected to do. In any ways, they campaigned that they had what it took to turn around the dire economic situation in Nigeria. They went from state to state. In fact, they were in the Chatham House and in every other think tank that they visited, preferring solutions to the challenges that confronted Nigeria. So it's laughable that they would turn around today and expect to get lectures from those in opposition on how to move the country forward when you campaigned on these very same pillars that you knew the answers, you knew how to turn around this economy, and you sold hope to the Nigerian people. So, I mean, it's extremely laughable if you expect the people in opposition to come hand you answers, to questions, to an exam that you said you had prepared thoroughly to sit for.
Yeah, is this their subtle way of owning up, to the fact that they don't know the answers, and what they're currently doing is trial and error, or maybe just beating around the bush, hoping to buy time, for 4 years? Because, from the excuses that we keep hearing, even from the CBN governor, going all the way to blame foreign students and the likes for the forex crisis. Is this their way of letting Nigerians know, from Felix Morka's mouth, that they don't know what they're doing? They would like ideas, they would like some assistance from the opposition, but at the interim, we really don't know what we're doing.
Listen, I can't judge I can't tell what is in their head, so I can't judge the quality of ideas in their head. What I can tell you is that I can judge the evidence of what they have put in place in the last 8 months. And going by the evidence that I have seen, clearly something is amiss. Because first and foremost, it was your idea. If a party decided to remove petrol subsidy on the first day in office, I would have expected that that same political party would have put in place certain measures to mitigate the fallout of that policy action. And it would have troubleshot all of the unintended consequences of that policy action. And by the way, you don't need to use sophisticated economic models to analyze what would happen if you raise the cost of petrol by over 300%. You don't need a prophet to tell you what would happen for an economy that is primarily driven by petrol, whether it's what small businesses are using to run their daily activities, or the fact that most Nigerian homes have to supplement the PHCN with generators that are mostly run by petrol, and the fact that most Nigerians commute to and fro with vehicles using petrol. So you didn't need a prophet to tell you what would have happened when you raised the price of petrol by 300%. Of course, you should have expected that the cost of public transportation will go up. You should have expected that the cost of food items will go up. You should have expected that that price shock will feed itself back into the economy and force inflation up. So you didn't need a sophisticated economic analysis to know that. So where you have let the Nigerian people down is because clearly you had no plan whatsoever, from what we have seen, to mitigate some of the consequences of this policy. So for instance, inflation today is about 28%. Food inflation is about 33%. Many Nigerians are struggling to feed themselves. Many Nigerians are struggling to pay fees. They can't afford prescription drugs. Purchasing power has completely been eroded because the Naira has lost close to 80% of its value. Businesses are struggling to stay afloat because they have to power their diesels that cost 1,100 Naira per liter. So people are crumbling under these huge price shocks. Businesses are folding up. You have organizations filled with staffs who are sleeping at their offices because they can't go back home every day and come back to work. So essentially, really and truly, the economy is at a very dire strait. And it's unfortunate that the three principal things that the average Nigerian needs are going beyond what they can afford, which is food, transportation, prescription drugs. Now, like I always say, you cannot pursue Chicago-style neoliberal policy without welfarist safety nets that will cushion the effects of those policies. But what this government or what this administration has done is to pursue this, this neoliberal Chicago-style, economic policy. And of course, it hasn't put in place welfarist safety nets for people to fall back to. And that's why you're seeing protests in Niger. That's why you're seeing protests in Kano. And I'm afraid if these things continue the way they are, you're likely to see more of those protests, spring up across the country because people can no longer continue to survive this very harsh situation that they found themselves in.
Yeah. You kept mentioning Chicago style. There were allegations during the campaigning, about the president and Chicago. That's a different conversation entirely. I want to...
I'm glad you raised that up, but it's important to clarify that when people talk about Chicago-style economics, they're referring to Milton Friedman, who was the thinker, who was at the University of Chicago teaching at the time, that preferred this kind of economic philosophy.
Maybe that's where the president also learned this economic model.
Osage, where are you going to? Osage is still on the lane.
Anyway, I want to ask, because they also say things like, everybody campaigned and said they were going to do the same thing. So why are you blaming us, now that it's not working? Because the same candidate said they were going to remove fuel subsidy. So, do they have a point?
I've heard this excuse bandied around every time. They say that, there's nobody that would have done anything differently. And that's a lie from the pit of hell. The idea that you think that there is no other way to have handled the economic situation that confronted us just shows how short-sighted and myopic certain people have chosen to be, because there are obviously numerous other economic options and models that we could have pursued, that probably would have placed us in a fairer situation than we are now. Please let me just say very quickly that yes, indeed, the administration met a very, very poor fiscal state. They met a state where revenues were low, where debt was high, and where we essentially could not afford to continue to borrow in huge amounts to fund consumption. I admit that, right? But you also have to admit that it's the same party that plunged us into this very mess. And you have to take responsibility for the policy choices you made in the last 8 years, and not come and cry wolf that Nigerians should be patient with you, when it was the same political party that had dug this hole that we found ourselves in. But the also harsh reality is that given the fact that Nigeria now has more resources accruing to both federal and state governments, it also has in its leeway a lot more choices it can make to better the lives of the average Nigerian. The president in himself has admitted that they have savings of up to ₦1 trillion monthly since the petrol subsidy was removed. So what have you been doing with these excess savings to give back, to the Nigerian people? Because, let me quickly break down what is happening here. The fact that many Nigerians no longer have disposable income, the fact that wages have remained stagnant while cost continues to rise, what it has done is that it has completely decimated consumption. So people are no longer consuming as they used to have consumed. And that by itself causes a lot of problems in the economy, because people that are manufacturing cannot sell what they are manufacturing. In fact, as of the last data, there was about 200 billion naira worth of unsold items from just the fast-moving consumer good industries, right? So, and the more people cannot consume, the more manufacturers struggle. The more manufacturers struggle, the more you're going to have job losses. And it's going to breed a vicious cycle that is going to lead our economy to a stagflation. And that's not what we want to happen. So the government has a choice. It can find ways to put monies back into the hands of Nigerians, and it can do that in very intelligent ways that at least continues to enable consumption. And the moment consumption picks up in the economy, things are likely to get better over time. But unfortunately, there's no consumption happening. Wages have remained on the floor. Prices have continued to hit the roof. And it doesn't look like there are any welfarist safety nets anywhere across the country. And I cannot understand how a government can run like this.
Okay, Mr.
It's almost ludicrous.
Mr. Dio, I think we've gotten your point, and I want to thank you so much for being able to help us see some of these angles of which Nigerians might need to really think about going forward in days to come. But then again, let's also quickly bring this breaking news. Our guest, CKN, during the paper review, mentioned it, but here is the breaking news. Well, let's quickly announce that a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, APC, and former member of the House of Representatives, that is the man who many have respected for years because of his outspokenness. I'm talking about Dr. Cairo Ojobo, is dead. He was said to die yesterday while watching the AFCON game between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and South Africa, and he slumped when South Africa were awarded a penalty. And while they were awarded a penalty and they scored, in the fact of not being happy and, of course, in shouting and all that, he was said to have slumped and died. Very sad story. So while Nigeria celebrated, Nigeria also lost someone. Pretty sad. Well, I want to say thank you to Adio for joining us, and also want to share our condolences to the family of the late. You know, the wonderful moment Nigerians were indeed celebrating. Sadly, Nigeria also lost one, Dr. Cairo Ojogo, who actually slumped and died there. Very sad story.
Yeah, really sad, and we of course condole with the family. We hope that there's more information today, and hopefully we'll be able to share more with you. But thank you very much for being with us all through the show this morning. It's been a very interesting Thursday morning. We're going to be back here again tomorrow. Remember, there's many other programs coming your way. Today we'll share some of those with you before we go. I am Osaogie Ogbawa.
And I'm Joe Hansen. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again bright and early tomorrow at 7.